The situation reached a new level of absurdity the day the HOA demolished my barn under the pretense of community aesthetics. This wasn't just any barn. It had been standing for decades, a centerpiece of my ranch and a symbol of family legacy. I watched in disbelief as the crew tore it down, ignoring every protest, every argument, every legal notice I had filed. The very act seemed to scream entitlement and arrogance, as if they believed their HOA rules could override decades of property ownership. Naturally, I had to respond, and I did so in a way that was both entirely legal and utterly theatrical. I released my horned bulls into the HOA's meticulously manicured gardens. Within minutes, hedges were flattened, flower beds reduced to mud, and fountains toppled. Their screams, frantic phone calls, and desperate attempts to herd the bulls only amplified the spectacle. By the end of the day, the HOA board had learned a valuable lesson. Actions have consequences, and you don't mess with someone who knows how to escalate strategically. 2454 not content to stop there. They dialed the police when I set up camp by my own ranch lake, claiming I was trespassing. Officers arrived, checked the property records, and quickly realized the absurdity of the complaint. They left, shaking their heads, while Karen fumed on the shoreline, her protests echoing over the water. 2455 her complaints about the pond continued despite it being part of official Border Horse Patrol training grounds, an oversight that turned every call she made into a comedy of errors. The HOA was increasingly discovering that interfering with my property came at the cost of public humiliation and wasted authority. 2456 when they tried to stop me from hosting a cabin party. I simply leased the cabin to a loud rock band for a full month, ensuring that the entire valley heard nightly guitar riffs and drum solos. 2457 Karen called the police over a floating lake party, oblivious to the fact that my permit bore the signature of her own superior. Every attempt to assert control only backfired spectacularly. They demanded that I open my ranch gate, only to find out that I was the legal owner of the entire valley, rendering their threats completely irrelevant. 2458 the HOA's next attempt to assert authority was to take over my driveway. I responded by building a fully legal mini-moat with an automatic bridge, functional, beautiful, and utterly frustrating for anyone trying to trespass. 2459 when they entered my house without permission, unaware that I was a law enforcement officer, they quickly learned that crossing me had tangible consequences. The resulting arrests became a cautionary tale for HOA members about overreach and ignorance. 2460 their audacity continued when they tore down another barn to build a pool. I responded by unleashing my horned bulls again, this time strategically herding them through the HOA president's property. The chaos that ensued was instant. Cars dodged, furniture toppled, and the office was flooded with panicked calls. 2461 Karen attempted to seize my treehouse, not realizing it was on wheels and remotely controlled. Within moments, it rolled across the yard, leaving several HOA members scrambling for safety. 2462 escalation continued when the HOA drained my lake under the pretense of flood control. I retaliated by turning their homes into swamps, complete with floating debris and mud, a direct mirror of their interference. 2463 they demanded I open my ranch gate again, only to discover that I was their landlord's superior, legally and practically untouchable. 2464 Karen even banned my grandfather from building a fence, unaware that he had bought the company and fired her son, effectively dismantling her authority from within. 2465 fines were sent to my deceased relatives, breaking federal law in the process. 2466 they attempted to build a bridge across my lake, which I countered by destroying the $5 million bridge leading to their resort. 2467 Karen threatened my grandfather personally, prompting the arrival of an entire FBI unit, a situation that left the HOA terrified and completely powerless. 2468 she tried to steal my Lamborghini for her son, not realizing it was being monitored by federal authorities, a mistake that humiliated her entirely. 2469 when they demolished my lake bridge, I drained their $5 million lakefront mansions. 2470 they called the police because I moved to the ranch, only to have my son show up in uniform and arrest Karen. 2471 when they called over my locked gate, They didn't realize the property was legally mine, leaving their authority nullified. 2472 Their drag race on my wheat farm failed spectacularly because I supplied grain to the Pentagon, freezing their HOA budget as unintended collateral. 2473 A crash into my ranch fence by the HOA president ended with her Lamborghini shredded by a trap I installed. 2474 Even my new truck was not safe. Karen destroyed it, and I made her pay instantly. 2475 Every attempt to call 911 over fences, gates, or bills was met with legal action or family intervention. 2476 When they tried to block access to my cabin, they failed because I owned the only road into town. 2477 Their destruction of my Lamborghini triggered another drainage of their $6 million lakefront properties. 2478 to 2500 Every attempt to intimidate, fine, or trespass was met with preemptive legal countermeasures, tactical creativity, and occasional theatrical retaliation. From floating lake parties to horned bull invasions, each episode reinforced the lesson. Never underestimate a rancher who knows the law, their land, and how to escalate effectively. By the end, Karen and the HOA had lost all authority, every plan backfiring spectacularly, and the valley remembered the saga as a legend. A cautionary tale of arrogance meeting strategy, creativity, and justice. My ranch remained safe, my family unharmed, and the story of Karen versus the rancher became a tale recounted across fences, lakes, and pastures for generations.